Welcome to RSA's ATA, where family loyalty meets betrayal in the most painful way possible. Our next Reddit post is from someone dealing with every twin's worst nightmare. When the person you thought would always have your back suddenly cuts you out of the most important moments of their life, leaving you questioning everything you thought you knew about your relationship. So advice needed. I have a twin brother. Growing up, we were inseparable, and until recently I thought we were still very close. I was always more of a shy nerd, and he was an extrovert that played sports throughout our childhood and high school, but we spent almost all of our time together, by choice. We went our separate ways when college came. He stayed local in Arizona, and I went to college in Portland. When I graduated, I stayed there because I fell in love with the city. My friends are there, my professional networks from internships were there, etc. But I always flew back home for holidays, events, birthdays, etc. My brother announced on Instagram that he and his girlfriend of 3 years got engaged. I was incredibly happy for him and texted him congrats. He mentioned they were planning to have a party in 3 weeks and told me when it was so I could let me know so I can book a flight to come celebrate. I was never told a date. If I brought it up with him or anyone in my family, they'd change the subject or say it's still being planned and confirmed. After a few weeks, I texted my mother to ask about the date because I missed close and I don't want to pay for a last-minute flight. No response. I asked my mom for more details and she said, "It's not really an engagement party, just a small dinner with family. There's no need to come down for it." I eventually found out that it was, in fact, a big party. They rented out an entire restaurant for 4 hours, and there were about 80 guests. Family, friends, cousins, everyone. Everyone was told I couldn't make it. My aunt, who was like a second mother to me, texted me that she was very disappointed I couldn't make time to join, and I replied that I would have happily come, but I was not invited. Word spread quickly that my brother and my parents had lied about me by saying I was uninvited. It was just a misunderstanding. That was almost over a year ago. Since then, I've tried to get to the bottom of why I wasn't invited. Over the course of months, it went from, "It was a small family gathering," to, "We didn't know what happened, there must have been a miscommunication," to, "It's just a party, it's no big deal." I asked my brother if he was mad at me. I thought maybe his fiancée didn't like me. Even if she or he didn't like me, I'm still his twin brother and I should have been invited, at least out of respect. I honestly don't know what I did wrong. I feel like I'm going crazy, and I feel like I don't know who this TF is really wasn't like them. Christmas and Easter was awkward as hell because no one but me wanted to address the elephant in the room, and any conversation about anything was like small talk with strangers. When I visited in May for my sister's birthday, I left early after my sister said, "You moved so far away, it's like you're not really family anymore. You make everything feel so weird now." 9 months ago, I got the save the date announcement. And 6 months ago, I got the invitation to the wedding. I wasn't asked to be in the wedding party, which is fine and not surprising. My sister and younger brother were asked to be in the wedding party, so another snub. I also didn't get a +1 from my girlfriend I've been seeing for almost a year and a half. My sister, however, got a +1 for her FWB. So I decided I wasn't welcome and I was probably only invited for optics and to play happy family. I didn't RSVP no, since I knew that would cause a shitstorm. I just didn't go. The wedding was this past weekend. No one contacted me about missing it, and now everyone's posting their pictures from the event. I just treated it like any other weekend and went on with my life. I started getting calls and texts an hour before the ceremony asking where I was, if my flight was delayed, how far along I will be, etc., and I ignored them. They stopped for a while during the ceremony but started up again right after. I finally picked up my mom's call and she screamed, "Where the hell are you?" I replied, "In Portland, where you all prefer me to be." She said, "This is your brother's wedding, how could you embarrass us?" I answered, "It's just a party, it's no big deal, right?" It was probably the first time in my life my mother was speechless. After a few seconds of silence, I said, "Tell everyone I said hi," and I hung up. Now I'm getting calls and texts from everyone saying I was being petty and ruined the day. So am I the AH here? I feel like I'm just matching their energy and dropping the rope. Look, you guys, this one hit me right in the feels because I've been there. Maybe not the twin brother situation, but definitely the, "Wait, am I actually part of this family or just a convenient afterthought?" drama. Okay, so first off, OP, my dude, you are not the asshole here, like not even close. But let me break this down for you because there's so much toxic family bullshit happening here I don't even know where to start. First, they straight up lied to his face about the engagement party. Not just a little white lie, but a full-on conspiracy involving mom, dad, and golden boy brother. They told everyone he couldn't make it when they literally never invited him. That's some next-level gaslighting right there. And then, when he tries to figure out what the hell happened, they keep changing their story like they're in some kind of witness protection program. Oh, it was small family only becomes miscommunication, becomes it's no big deal. Pick a lane, people. But here's what really gets me. The sister's comment about you move so far away, it's like you're not really family anymore. Yo, that's not how family works. I moved across the country for work, and my family still treats me like, family. Distance doesn't make you less related, it just makes you less convenient. As a guy who's dealt with family drama myself, I can tell you that the whole just matching their energy thing? Chef's kiss. Perfect execution. They spent a year treating him like he didn't matter, so he returned the favor. Sometimes you gotta speak people's language. And the phone call with mom? In Portland, where you all prefer me to be? Brutal, but deserved. She had the audacity to call him embarrassing when they've been embarrassing him for over a year. Look, I get it. Weddings are stressful, families are complicated, but you don't just exclude someone and then act shocked when they exclude you back. That's not how this works. The only thing I might have done differently? Maybe send a text the morning of like, having a great day in Portland. Hope the wedding is everything you planned it to be. Just to really drive the point home, but that's just me being petty. OP, 0 out of 5 buttholes. This man is a saint for putting up with this for as long as he did. The brother, 4 out of 5 buttholes. Your twin brother, dude. Come on. The parents, 5 out of 5 buttholes. They orchestrated this whole mess and then had the nerve to be mad about consequences. The sister, 3 out of 5 buttholes for that not really family comment. That's just cruel. The extended family blowing up his phone. 2 out of 5 buttholes. They're probably just following the family narrative, but still. Sometimes you gotta drop the rope, people. Not everyone deserves a place at your table just because you share DNA.
Our next Reddit post is AITA for silently changing my son's name after my brother and SIL gave my nephew the name too. My wife and I had our son 4 months ago. We had a name chosen early in her pregnancy. We kept that name to ourselves, but my SIL, married to my brother, found it out when she was still pregnant with my nephew, almost 7 months old now. She told us she loved the name, congrats, and she couldn't wait to meet him. We assume she snooped because she was not told. I even mentioned it to my brother, and he said that his wife does like to browse through people's things like it was no biggie. Then, when my nephew was born, they announced his name, and it was the name we chose, first, middle, and last name. My brother called right after SIL posted the announcement, and he told me to keep quiet because his wife had a rough birth and she didn't need drama, and he knew we might not be that happy about the name. Her reason? My brother and I have matching twin-like names, and SIL wanted to connect our 2 boys by just giving them the same name so they were each other's namesake. My wife and I talked it over, and we decided to pick a different name, but we'd pretend to keep the original name until there was peace or one of us changed it. We didn't want to cause drama while both kids were newborns. We only started telling people the true name last week. My parents and sisters said it made sense. Friends and my ILs understood why we did it. My brother told me I upset his wife by silently going the shit and taking away her choice to match the boys. He told me it was a dick move. I told him his wife using the full name down to the middle name was also a dick move. I asked him if he considered how much tougher it would be with both boys enrolled in the same schools with the very same name. Not to mention banking, doctors, dental, all kinds of stuff. He told me plenty of people have the same name and it's not a big deal, and it's harder to mix shit up now and we're just trying to gatekeeper names. I think he's crazy. So does my wife. She said he clearly doesn't want SIL to be mad. But AITA for what I did? Like, are we weird for thinking of this kind of stuff? Okay, so let me just break this down for you guys because this is absolutely wild. So, OP and his wife pick out a name for their kid, keep it to themselves like normal human beings do, but somehow, and I'm using air quotes here, somehow the sister-in-law finds out. And what does she do? She straight up steals the entire name. Not just the first name, not just a similar name, but the exact first, middle, and last name combo.
And then, and this is where it gets really good, the brother calls OP after the birth announcement and basically says, "Hey, I know we just completely screwed you over, but my wife had a rough birth, so please don't make waves." Like, my dude, your wife is the one who made the waves by being a name-stealing psychopath. As a dad myself, I can tell you that picking your kid's name is like, it's sacred, you know? My wife and I probably went through like 200 names before we found the right one. It's not just a name, it's the first gift you give your child. It's their identity. And this woman just swooped in and took it like she was shopping at Target. But here's what really gets me, the Sills reasoning. She wanted the boys to be each other's namesake because the dads have similar names. That's not how namesakes work. That's not how any of this works. You don't get to create some weird family legacy by stealing someone else's carefully chosen name. That's like me deciding I want my son to have the same name as my neighbor's kid because we live on the same street. It's insane. And the brother defending this madness? Plenty of people have the same name, it's not a big deal. Yeah, plenty of strangers have the same name. But when it's cousins in the same family, going to the same schools, with the same pediatrician, that's going to be a nightmare. Imagine the school calling like, "Your son got in trouble today," and you're like, "Which one?" The fact that OP handled this so diplomatically makes him a saint in my book. He didn't cause drama during newborn phase. He didn't blow up at the hospital. He just quietly changed his son's name and moved on. That's mature as hell. I probably would have gone nuclear at that family dinner. And now the brother's mad that OP took away his wife's choice to match the boys? What choice? She already made her choice when she stole the name in the first place. You can't steal something and then get mad when the original owner takes it back. That's not how theft works, Kevin. Look, I've seen some petty family drama in my day, but this is next level. This woman really thought she could just claim someone else's baby name like she's calling dibs on the last slice of pizza. And the audacity to then act like she's the victim when OP changes his son's name? That's some world-class manipulation right there. OP, you are 0 out of 5 buttholes. You handled this with way more grace than most people would. The brother gets 3 out of 5 buttholes for enabling his wife's crazy behavior and then getting mad at you for the consequences. But the sister-in-law? She gets a solid 5 out of 5 buttholes for being a name-stealing, manipulative, boundary-crossing nightmare. Some people really just wake up and choose chaos, and this woman is their queen. Our next Reddit pose is AITA for telling a guy to shut up during a job interview? I was interviewing this guy for a very good software engineering position. He passed the first round, and both I and everyone involved in the second round really liked his resume and experience. On paper, he had everything we were looking for, and honestly, this looked like a life-changing opportunity for him. Then he shows up, very serious and not smiling at all. I'm used to that in tech interviews, and I understand it can be an intimidating environment. We did a round of introductions, and then he opened the interview by saying, "Let me tell you a little bit about myself." We said, "Yeah, go for it." He started talking about his personal and professional background. After about 3 minutes, I jumped in to ask a follow-up question based on something he mentioned. He replied, "I will answer, just give me a moment," and continued talking. A coworker jumped in with another question, and he said the same thing to her. At this point, we were kind of looking at each other, but decided to let him continue and give him the benefit of the doubt. But after more than 5 minutes, I jumped in again with another question. I had to talk over him to do it. He finally paused and answered, but in such a long-winded way that he basically took over the interview again. My coworker asked another question, and the same thing happened. At this point, I was ready to end the interview. I tried to politely wrap it up several times, but he was unable to read the room and just kept talking. I finally raised my voice slightly and said something like, "Thank you very much for sharing your background. In the interest of time, I'd like to ask if you have any questions for us." This gives protocol and helps us prepare answers for future interviews. He asked a question about the team. As I was answering, he raised his finger and interrupted to talk more about his background. I let it go. Then he asked another question, which my coworker started to answer, but again, he spoke over her to talk about himself. I tried once more to interrupt politely, but he kept talking. At that point, I was done. I said, "John, you really have to shut up and listen." He was surprised, as was my coworker, but he finally stopped talking. I continued, "You walked into this room with a 90% chance of getting the job. Now that chance is zero. The only reason is because, in less than 15 minutes, you've demonstrated that you don't have the capacity to listen at all. So I'm telling you now, you're not getting the job. But if you take anything away from this interview, let it be this. No matter how good you are, if you can't listen, you will never succeed in this career." He apologized and said, "Can we start again?" He apologized and said, "Can we start again?" I replied, "You had your chance. Best of luck in your future interviews. Make sure you listen." Looking back, I know I could have handled that differently, but I still feel bad for the guy. Look, you guys, this one is absolutely wild, because I've been on both sides of this situation, and let me tell you, this dude basically self-destructed in the most spectacular way possible. Like, imagine having a 90% chance of landing what sounds like a dream job, and then just talking yourself out of it. Literally. Okay, so first off, OP is definitely not the asshole here. As someone who's done my fair share of interviews, I can tell you that the #1 rule of interviewing is read the room. This guy walked into what should have been a conversation and turned it into his personal TED Talk. That's not how interviews work, my friend. But here's what really gets me: the audacity of this candidate. When someone asks you a follow-up question during your story, that's actually a good sign. It means they're engaged and interested. But this guy literally said, "I will answer. Just give me a moment," and kept going. That's like someone trying to have a conversation with you and you just holding up a hand like, "Nah, I'm not done with my monologue yet." And it happened multiple times. The first time, okay, maybe he's nervous. The second time, we're getting into red flag territory. But by the third time, when he's literally interrupting the interviewer who's trying to answer his question, that's when you know this person has zero self-awareness. I've interviewed people who were nervous talkers, and you know what? You work with them. You give them grace. But this wasn't nerves. This was someone who fundamentally doesn't understand that communication is a two-way street. In tech especially, you need to be able to collaborate, listen to feedback, and work with a team. This guy just proved he can't do any of that. The fact that OP tried to politely redirect multiple times before finally snapping shows incredible patience. Most people would have ended that interview way sooner. And that final speech? Chef's kiss. Sometimes people need to hear the hard truth, and maybe this wake-up call will actually help this guy in future interviews. The "can we start again" part killed me, though. Like, sir, you just spent 15 minutes showing them exactly who you are. You don't get a do-over when you've already demonstrated that you can't listen to save your life. OP gets 0 out of 5 buttholes for having way more patience than this situation deserved. The candidate gets 4 out of 5 buttholes for being completely oblivious to basic social cues and wasting everyone's time. Sometimes the trash takes itself out, and this guy basically gift-wrapped himself and put himself on the curb. Our next Reddit post is AITA for telling my boyfriend I wouldn't pretend to be Japanese to impress his old high school friends. I am a Chinese woman living in America. My boyfriend is American and white. I am somewhat aware of a weird thing for Asian women, where white American guys have. But most of my boyfriend's exes are African American, so I thought I was in the clear. He's going to attend an event that includes many friends from high school. He told me he wants his friends to think I'm Japanese. He said I don't have to outright say it. I can just do something subtle to give them that impression. One person who will be there is an ex-girlfriend of his. She's African American. He promised me nothing is going to do with him wanting people to think I'm Japanese. He said it's for his male friends. Even though it's subtle, he rarely sees, so this may be a one-time thing. I told him I wouldn't pretend to be Japanese. Unless it's required, I avoid telling people I'm Chinese. I feel people put much stock into where people are born, and I want people to get to know me for me. My boyfriend still wants to go with me, but now he seems like he's dreading it. Am I the asshole? Yo, this one right here just made my jaw drop, because the audacity of this man is absolutely unreal. So this dude really looked at his Chinese girlfriend and said, "Hey babe, can you just pretend to be a different type of Asian for my high school friends?" Like, sir, what is wrong with you? Look, I need everyone to understand how absolutely insane this request is. This isn't like asking someone to wear a different outfit or pretend they like your favorite band. This man asked his girlfriend to deny her entire cultural identity because he thinks his friends will, what? Be more impressed? Think he's cooler? The whole thing is just dripping with fetishization and racism. And the way he tries to justify it? Oh, it's subtle. You don't have to outright say it. Just give them that impression. My guy, that's still lying about who she is. That's still asking her to perform a different ethnicity for your entertainment. The mental gymnastics here are Olympic level. But here's what really gets me. He mentions that most of his exes are African American, and then specifically points out that his ex-girlfriend will be at this event. Then he's like, oh, but this has nothing to do with wanting people to think you're Japanese. Bro, we can all see what's happening here. You're trying to show off your exotic Asian girlfriend to your friends and your ex, but you want her to be the right kind of Asian for your weird fantasy. As someone who's seen this type of behavior before, this screams fetishization. He doesn't see her as a person with her own rich cultural background. He sees her as an accessory that he can customize to fit whatever image he wants to project. That's not love. That's objectification. And the fact that she has to avoid telling people she's Chinese because of how they react? That breaks my heart. She's already dealing with enough prejudice, and now her own boyfriend is adding to it by asking her to hide who she is. The red flags are everywhere, people. He's dreading the event now that she won't play along with his racist fantasy. A normal, non-terrible person would be excited to introduce their partner as exactly who they are. But this guy is disappointed that he can't use her as a prop. OP, you are absolutely 0 out of 5 buttholes for having boundaries and self-respect. Your boyfriend gets a solid 5 out of 5 buttholes for being a fetishizing, racist piece of work who sees you as a costume he can change instead of a human being. Girl, run. This is not the man for you, and you deserve someone who celebrates exactly who you are, not someone who wants to edit you for his friend's approval. Our next Reddit post is AITA for not making my kids share their things with their half-siblings and forcing my ex to move? I have 2 kids with my ex-wife Mel, Emmy and Travis. We divorced several years ago after a petty, nasty split. I'm not a high-income guy, but I have a family trust that gives me a very comfortable lifestyle. It wasn't counted in the divorce, nor could it be touched for child support or alimony, which Mel still insists on saying. Mel never went back to work after the divorce since she used to be a stay-at-home mom, and she let her live rent-free in one of my parents' properties so the kids could stay close. She's since remarried and has 2 more kids with her new husband, but money seems to still be a major issue in that household. Here's where the real issue starts. My kids have a much nicer life, for lack of a better term. They go to private school, get good gifts recently, a Switch, a bicycle, lacrosse gear, and a new MacBook, and they vacation with me and my family. Their half-siblings don't get the same, and it's led to a lot of jealousy and fighting. My kids refuse to share their stuff with their half-siblings anymore because things have been broken in the past, like a $54 tablet permanently stopped working after a visit. This didn't come from my kids, but from Mel herself. She kept asking them. Apparently, she caused yet another meltdown between Mel and her husband, and now she's blamed the kids from bringing in stuff that the house is all. So now they're staying with me more, because why would they want to go somewhere they can't enjoy the things they own? This has set off a domino effect. Mel is now filing for child support, which again, she's allowed to do. And in response to everything, my parents told her she needs to start paying rent in September. She's now claiming she can't afford it, and that we're forcing her to move out of the house, even though she can totally afford it. She's turning it into a full-blown meltdown. But here's the thing, and I know this is harsh. At some point, she and her husband need to get it together and stop blaming me and my kids for their lack of resources. Life is always fair. Our kids have different opportunities, and that's okay. It's not my responsibility to balance out their half-siblings don't feel bad. That's not how the world works. I could help more, sure, but why should I keep picking up the slack because she and her husband can't provide? I already let her live rent-free for years. I don't think I owe more than that. That said, maybe I'm being too blunt or dismissive. AITA? Okay, so look you guys, this is one of those situations where everybody sucks a little bit, but some people suck way more than others. And honestly, this whole mess could have been avoided if certain adults had acted like, Actual adults. So, first off, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the kids. These poor kids are caught in the middle of what's basically a financial pissing contest between their parents. The half-siblings are jealous because Emmy and Travis have nicer stuff, and now Emmy and Travis don't even want to visit their mom's house because they're being forced to share everything. That's not fair to any of the kids involved. But here's where I'm going to side with OP on this one. You absolutely do not have to make your kids share their expensive stuff with kids who have a track record of breaking things. A $54 tablet getting permanently destroyed? Hell no. If I bought my kid a MacBook and it came back broken because their half-sibling had to use it, I'd be pissed too. That's not teaching sharing, that's teaching your kids that their stuff doesn't matter. And Mel? Girl, what are you doing? You're literally creating a toxic environment in your own home by constantly asking the kids to share their stuff, then getting mad when they don't want to come over anymore. You're punishing your own children for having things. That's some backwards logic right there. Now, OP isn't completely innocent here either. The whole life isn't fair attitude is technically true. But when you're dealing with kids, you gotta have a little more empathy. These half-siblings are probably like 8 and 10 years old watching their step-siblings get iPads while they get nothing. That's gotta hurt. But here's the thing, and this is important. It's not OP's job to financially support his ex-wife's new family. He already let her live rent-free for years. That's incredibly generous, and now she's mad that the free ride is ending? Come on. She remarried, she has a husband, they need to figure their shit out like adults. The fact that she's trying to guilt-trip the kids and turn them against their dad because they have nice things? That's manipulative as hell. You don't make your kids feel bad for having opportunities. You figure out how to create opportunities for your other kids. OP gets 1 out of 5 buttholes for maybe being a little too harsh in his delivery. But his logic is sound. Mel gets 4 out of 5 buttholes for creating a toxic environment and manipulating children. The new husband gets 2 out of 5 buttholes for not stepping up financially. Sometimes the truth hurts, but someone needed to set some boundaries here.